Good evening. Pakistan's Caretaker Prime Minister Anwar has included Mushal Malik, the wife of Yasin Malik, in the cabinet of the Caretaker government. Now, we all know who Yasin Malik is. He's the man who has been found guilty in a terror funding case for supporting unlawful activities. He was convicted by an NIA court here in the national capital, and right now he is in Tihar jail, the premier prison in this country, spending perhaps the rest of his life for all the wrongdoings that he committed. Now, the question is, what message is Pakistan attempting to convey? Here is the wife of a convicted terrorist who is being rewarded, and that too as a special ambassador for human rights. I mean, think about that for a second. Think about the irony of that for a second. The special ambassador for human rights is the wife of a convicted terrorist. What message is Pakistan trying to send? What message is the Caretaker government trying to send to India? That any anti-India activity, anyone who indulges in anti-India activity will be rewarded? And if that's the message, then how should India reciprocate?
भैया पाकिस्तान का मामला है, पाकिस्तान जो करना चाहे उसके लिए मुझे क्या कहना है। वो हम दो मुल्कों की बात है, आप तो गुजारिश करते हैं, उनकी बात है
कि एक कंट्राडिक्शन है। एक तरफ से अगर वो ह्यूमन राइट्स के लिए कंसर्न है, दूसरी तरफ से उस शख्स को इस जगह पर तैनात करते हैं जिसके हस्बैंड मिलिटेंसी में इन्वॉल्वड हैं।
So if ever there was any proof required that Pakistan does not have the best interests of either Kashmir or of India in its mind when it makes some of these decisions, this is a classic example. The wife of a convicted terrorist, a terrorist who's spending time in the Tihar jail, is being rewarded with a governmental position and all the perks that come with it. And it's not just any position, it's the position of special envoy on human rights. Then why should India even think of meeting Pakistan halfway? Caretaker Govt is the former Deputy Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Saifuddin Soz is senior Congress leader, former Union Minister. We're also joined by SP Berth, the former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir. Mona Alam is a senior journalist joining us from Pakistan. And Lalit Ambardar is a Kashmiri activist who will also be joining us. Let me go to Caretaker Govt first. Caretaker ji, ye bataiye ki all right, Saifuddin Soz, the decision that's been taken by the Pakistan Caretaker administration to reward the wife of a convicted terrorist, what do you make of that?
No, first you wanted Mr. Kaminder to say something. All right, you have moved me. I tell you, I have a feeling in my heart and mind. I condemn all kind of terrorism. There is a different story. Here, there are two individuals, Mr. Yasin Malik, who is in jail, and his wife, who is in Pakistan. They are two individuals. You can't mix his wife with him and, you see, start clubbing them together and punishing them. I have no brief for anybody. I condemn terrorism. Yasin Malik is behind the bars. Law will take its own course ultimately. But his wife is a Pakistani. You can't club her with Yasin Malik and jointly punish them. It may be verbal punishment, it will be propaganda, it may be any physical harm to them. You must understand, she is a Pakistani woman. She is an individual. You assess her performance on ground, all by yourself, do something and know her better. Here is Yasin Malik, who is behind the bars, and he is facing law. Law has taken its course. So these are two separate individuals. What if she is wife of Yasin Malik? You can't club them together and punish them. under no law in any country.
So, Saab, I
That
just
is
want
my
to
feeling.
clarify, I'm very surprised by the position you've taken tonight. So, I want to know if this is your individual position or this is the position of the Congress party in Jammu and Kashmir, that these are two separate individuals and the ills or sins of one cannot be considered the sins of the other.
No, I don't speak for the Congress. I'm a congressman.
Okay.
But whatever idea I express is my idea, not Congress party's. I am not a designated, office holder of Congress party.
Okay.
I'm an individual. I had been minister, I had been MP. This is my idea, not the Congress party's idea.
Okay.
They will fix responsibility
Sure.
with a
The reason I
spokesperson.
asked
I'm not the
this,
spokesperson.
the reason I asked this, and I'll go to SP Ved Saab after this, and then Mona Alam, Lalit Ambadar is also there, Kavinder Gupta is there, the former Deputy Chief Minister. SP Ved Saab, so Soz Saab is saying that, why is the media going overboard? These are two separate individuals. You can't hold the wife accountable for the litany of sins of the husband. But sir, pray may I ask, it's not like Mushal Malik has covered herself in glory entirely. Just a few weeks ago, she undertook a rally, a protest march in Karachi against the holding of the G20 meeting in Srinagar. This was the tourism meeting, I think happened in May, last week of May. She took out a rally opposing that, saying that, all kinds of things which are not bearing in fact, or which have no bearing on the ground, saying how the G20 meeting should not happen in Srinagar. Now, it's a different matter. It's a separate matter that meeting happened. It was very successful. Delegates from all around the world came. They attended that meeting. Now, still, this argument that's being put forth that the wife cannot be held accountable for the sins of the husband. Now, pray explain to me, how does that work, especially in light of, this rally that she took out some weeks ago.
Evening, I have a lot of regard for Professor Sabuddin Soz, and I had the honor of having his company many times. But my views on this are little more from the police perspective and from the perspective of a soldier from the nation. Today's this news. The interim government has been made by the establishment in Pakistan. Mushal Malik is not from a very prominent party and not a prominent leader, but the interim government has been made at the behest of the establishment. And by today's action, they have confirmed that she was mole of the ISI. If you recall, when her marriage took place, there were murmurs of she being an ISI mole, and today's action confirms that, number one. Number two, Pakistan sends a very clear message that they are not interested in improving relations with India. So this is Mushal Malik has been, she has been spewing venom against the country, against India, and by this, the message from the establishment of Pakistan, who calls the shots in Pakistan, is very clear that in spite of people of Pakistan suffering and in spite of complete bankruptcy of the economy, people of Pakistan, 24 crore people who are suffering for various reasons, and they all want Pakistan to improve relations with India. Otherwise, look at the inflation there. India being very close, the closest neighbor, they could import many things at cheaper prices. But Pakistan's establishment doesn't seem to be interested, and the message is very, very clear that there is no change of heart in the establishment, and they do not want any improvement in relations with India.
So let me ask Mona Alam this. I'm just trying to understand, what is the thinking, what is the process behind the awarding of this special ambassador position on human rights to the wife of a convicted terrorist? Let's say, for example, if India were to reward the same position to the wife of Sirajuddin Haqqani, or the wife of Noor Wali Masood, or the wife of Omar Khalid, would that be acceptable to Pakistan? Would that be okay? India has our best interests in mind.
Actually, Zaka, India has done a lot worse. I mean, the revocation of Article 35A and 370 from Kashmir, that too unilaterally without taking the public in confidence.
No, what has that got to do with Pakistan? One second, those were provisions of the Indian constitution. What on earth does it have to do with Pakistan?
Zaka, actually, they were in conflict with UN resolutions on Kashmir, and we all know it like the back of our hand. And I mean, you cannot say that, you cannot say that.
How was it in conflict with UN resolutions? Anyway, that's not my question even. My question is, I'm giving you a comparable example. If the wife of a convicted terrorist in your country, and admittedly she's a Pakistani national, has been rewarded with this position of ambassador for human rights, would it be okay with Pakistan if India were to do the same to the wife of Sirajuddin Haqqani or the wife of Omar Malik or the wife of Noor Wali Mahsood? Would that be acceptable to you?
Yes, I think it would be, because of course, it would be, because yes, let me give my reason for this, because of course this is our internal matter. This is Pakistan's internal matter. One of our esteemed panelists has rightly pointed out that she's a Pakistani citizen. To you, she is the wife of a convict, but to Pakistan, she's a human rights activist, and nothing other than that.
What has she done to get that moniker of human rights activist? What's her claim to fame? Like, has she freed people who were persecuted, religious persecution? We had, 8 churches being burnt recently, just a few days ago, just yesterday. 8 churches have been burnt. Did Mushal Malik appear at those churches and fight for the rights of the Christians whose churches have been burnt? Like, what is her claim to fame? Like, how is she a human rights activist?
I mean, our audience may not be privy to this information, but the Prime Minister of the same cabinet that Mushal Malik is a part of had convened a very urgent meeting on the matter. He had spoken to the community, and also, I would take this opportunity to remind the churches that have been burnt recently in India as well. So,
that's not my question even. My question is, what is Mushal Malik's claim to be awarded a special ambassador for human rights position? What other human rights causes has she taken up, is what I want to know.
I think she's a very prominent voice, on a national level, and as well as on an international level. When it comes to abiding UN resolutions on Kashmir. She's been extremely vocal about it. She's been the key speaker in seminars abroad, in Pakistan as well and abroad as well. And obviously she has a good base in London too. So she's been very vocal.
So Lalit Ambardar, she has a base in London. She's been a speaker on the international circuit. She goes to UNHRC. She goes to Geneva. All of those stuff. She takes out rallies against G20 in Srinagar. All of these are claims for why Mushal Malik deserves to be the ambassador for human rights. And the other part, which is that you can't hold or berate or crucify the wife for the sins of the husband. Please respond.
Zaka, on that account, I have all the pity or sympathy for this woman who was a budding artist, and she had the audacity to draw her self-nudes in that Islamic conservative Pakistan. But she was made a cannon fodder by her own father, who happens to be a member of Pakistan Muslim League, and she was intentionally married off Yasin Malik jihadist, who they knew he's going to be hanged one day in India, only to see to it that a pan-Islamic movement around Kashmir Jihad is consolidated in Pakistan, because that's the only thing that can keep Pakistan integrated. Today only, the whole Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, about lakhs of Pashtuns were on the streets of Islamabad fighting against the injustice being done to them. They are against Durand line. Then you have uprising in Balochistan. The only way they can keep the Pakistan together, I don't know how long they're going to do it, is on the verge of implosion, that they can only consolidate the opinion of Pakistanis in the name of Islam, and what best than Kashmir Jihad. You remember, on 14th of August 1947, when Pakistan was born, and they always claim historically they had nothing to eat on that particular day, and the following day they start a war against India. That was Kashmir Jihad 1. They had the audacity to do it. The Pakistanis have not come from heaven. Please understand, it's not a normal state. We are expecting a normal behavior from a state which is not a normal state. You know, on 14th of August 1947, Indian-born Indians, millions of India born, they breached the trust of their motherland and went for Pakistan's Jinnah's two nation theory in the name of Islam and created Pakistan. And it was on the dead bodies. And till then, since then, the only agenda of Pakistan is Kashmir, and they have repeatedly said it. Everybody who has been in Islamabad or in Rawalpindi, they have been always constantly saying that Kashmir is our target only because Kashmir is a Muslim majority state and it's the unfinished task of partition. We are like Mr. Saifuddin Soz. I remember last time I have seen him in India International Centre. He was the host of Kasuri.
Okay.
Kasuri was sitting in Indian International Centre threatening us, you resolve Kashmir, otherwise we will not be able to hold jihadis for long. I had to check Mr. Saifuddin Soz when he called Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Pakistan administered Kashmir.
Okay.
They have pan-Islamic sentiments. Kashmir's mainstream has the same thing. So I don't know. Mushal herself, she has been rightly pointed out, she has been spewing venom against her, not only her.
Yeah.
She's again using her own small daughter to use the same thing.
No,
so
as I understand, and I could be wrong on this fact, but my understanding is, and this has been given by our research desk, that Yasin Malik's sole purpose in marrying Mushal Malik, and I believe she was a minor when the marriage happened, this was way back in the 1990s, the sole purpose was to ensure that this whole narrative of Kashmiri yahan pe bhi hai, Kashmiri wahan pe bhi hai, and if you have one Kashmiri from here and one Kashmiri from there, then they won't be able to separate that bond. That was his sole idea and intent in marrying a minor from that region. But be that as it may, Kavinder Gupta is also joining us, and I believe he's just been patched through. He's the former Deputy Chief Minister of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. यासिन मलिक की पत्नी को, मिशाल मलिक को, पाकिस्तान की सरकार ने अभी उनको स्पेशल डायरेक्टर ह्यूमन राइट्स का जो पद है वो उनको दिया है. इसके ऊपर आपका क्या प्रतिक्रिया है? भारत सरकार की तरफ से क्या रवैया होनी चाहिए, क्या एक्शन होनी चाहिए इसके खिलाफ?
देखिए, पाकिस्तान की सरकार जानती है कि यासिन मलिक ने हिंदुस्तान में बहुत से कत्लेआम करवाए हैं, बहुत सी वारदातें ऐसे कराई हैं, आतंकवाद को बढ़ाया है और खास करके कई बार जहाजों को अगवा करने का भी इसने काम किया है. तो भारत को इरिटेट करने का ये एक कोशिश इसने की है. और खास करके ये भी मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि पाकिस्तान में सरकार नाम की तो कोई चीज होती नहीं है. वहां तो ये आर्मी और ISI यही सरकारें चलाते हैं, इनकी मर्जी से सरकारें चलती हैं. तो स्वाभाविक बात है कि इस चीज आज पाकिस्तान में जिस प्रकार से एक केयर टेकर सरकार बनी है, तो उसमें इस प्रकार का पद देकर के वो भारत को क्या बतलाना चाहता है, हम ये पूछना चाहते हैं. इससे भारत को कोई फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है, लेकिन वो खुद ब खुद पूरे विश्व भर में विश्व पटल पर अपने जो पहले ही बहुत किरकिरी करा चुका है, इवन जो मुस्लिम देश है वो उसकी परवाह नहीं करते हैं. अभी हाल ही में 15 अगस्त को जिस प्रकार से दुबई में उनकी हालत हुई है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि विश्व भर में ये आतंकवाद को लेकर के सभी सीरियस हैं, सभी बड़े देश हैं, और उसके कारण से इसने इस प्रकार का प्रयास किया है क्योंकि भारत को असर होने वाला नहीं है.
No, so I'll come back to Kavinder Gupta. I want to go back to Soz Saab. So, Saab, you know, when Yasin Malik married this lady, Mushal Malik, in 2005, she was not known as some kind of a human rights activist, or it was not known, her political views were not known. She was an artist who apparently at that time was painting nudes. Now, her artistic creations used to oftentimes, you know, irk religious sentiments or stir religious sentiments, which of course in Pakistan everybody knows is a very sensitive matter. Therefore, she used to in secret and in underground depict her artwork, so much so that Yasin Malik, who claims to be, you know, this leader of the separatist movement, this leader of who's upholding the Islamic ideology in Kashmir, he did not have a problem with all of this back when they met and in marrying her. But suddenly, after his arrest and his conviction and him now being in Tihar jail over the last many years, she has been leading, human rights marches after human rights marches for a convicted terrorist.
You want to go into her private life. She is a citizen of Pakistan.
Okay.
On her own volition, she married Yasin Malik. That is a private affair. We can't comment on that, how they got married. And she was not a minor, of that I am sure. So, Pakistan, how Mushal Malik spends her life in Pakistan, I have never bothered in such matters in my life. Broadly, I wish India and Pakistan to live together as best neighbors, and that will happen one day. I am an optimist.
No,
so
but sir, for that to happen,
I look to that future.
Sir, give me 10 seconds.
But
for
now,
that to happen, for a semblance of normalcy, a modicum of normalcy, and I agree with you. Right now, it's not a normal relationship. It has to be a normal relationship. For that, the basic underlying understanding between both countries needs to be that terrorists or enabling persons for terrorists should not be condoned on either side. Why is that such a hard thing to agree upon?
No, the question is, we can formulate a policy here and live by that policy. Put that policy into practice. But Pakistan is a different situation. It is another country, and Mushal Malik is a Pakistani. We have no access to her private life, and at least I am not available to give her advice. But I wish her well.
No, I'm not even getting into that. All I'm saying is,
in harmony.
If there are two neighbors, right, both, let's say, have an intent to live in harmony, but one person is always using a lathi or a danda or a gun to threaten the other person, kill the other person's relatives and kin and so on, then that's not a normal relationship, right? The basis of a normal relationship has to be mutual respect, has to be that, I'm not going to use the instrument of terrorism to target your people just because you happen to be a smaller military or economic power. I mean, those are basic facts. If those basic underlying sort of acknowledgements can't underpin this relationship, then what's the point of trying to attempt a normal relationship?
Listen to me for half a minute.
Yes, sir.
I wish and pray that India and Pakistan live in cordial relationship. I pray for that. And if I have to work for that, I will work for that goal. But here and now, India and Pakistan are not cordial. So this is why I cannot convey any message to Mushal. She is not a kid. She is a human rights activist recognized, say, beyond Pakistan. So it is for her to decide.
Just a second.
I have no access to Yasin Malik to advise.
All of us want a normal relationship, but you can't have a normal relationship by conferring, ministerial positions to the wife of a convicted terrorist. I'm sorry, I don't think that's how normal relationships work.
Zaka, as much as I have studied Pakistan, as much as I know about it, as much I have studied, I follow the jihad movements around the world. Pursuing peace with Pakistan is like chasing mirage. Every time you tend to extend a hand of friendship, they always stab you in the back. We don't realize it. Kashmiri Islam, I said mainstream Kashmir is a Kashmiri Islamist. They want to have a distance, they want to have a wider distance between Delhi and Srinagar, want to come closer to Rawalpindi just because Pakistan ka rishta kya la ilaha illallah. Ask Mr. Soos, is he okay with this Mushal and her little daughter being used by the Pakistan administration in Pakistan and around the world to spew venom against India? Is he okay with that? Don't we have right to counter it? She's a Pakistani citizen, so is Hafiz Syed.
Now listen to
as
me.
Hafiz Syed is a terrorist, she's a terrorist. She's using her voice to demonize India, defame India. Mr. Soos, are you happy with it? Are you okay with it?
So, sir, quick response. I need to go to some of the other guests as well.
I cannot be happy with that. But I have no access to Mushal to tell her.
So are you happy with Yasin Malik, who has been involved in genocide of Kashmiri Hindus, who has been involved in starting the cycle of blood and destruction in Kashmir? Are you happy? You try to call him Mr. Yasin Malik?
I have never been.
He had to be hanged 32 years ago.
In agreement with
he had to be hanged 30 years ago.
You go on saying
okay.
Kashmir is
Okay, let me call for a pause here. Let me call for a pause here once again.
Never appreciated Yasin Malik.
Once again, every time an administration in Pakistan under Nawaz Sharif, under Imran Khan, whenever there is this attempt to try and reach out, make some kind of normalcy with the administration here in India, we've been saying that, ultimately the army is what calls the shots in Pakistan, and the army will always be 2 steps back, 1 step forward when it comes to India-Pakistan relations, including in General Bajwa's time, which probably was the one singular time when Pakistan wanted to have a normal relationship. But this episode around Mushal Malik has once again illustrated to India that ultimately, even in a caretaker government, the army calling the shots and saying that the wife of a convicted terrorist will be given not just any position, not, interior secretary, not, defense secretary, position of special ambassador for the Office of Human Rights. I mean, come on. Who are we kidding? That the military wants to have some kind of normal ties with India?
Zaka, I suspect this is for me. I think this is the most apt thing to do. She is a human rights activist, and all that is being claimed here, I take strong exception to her private life, her personal life being discussed in this manner as such. She being alleged of being, a minor when she was married. I think this is a very flammable and a very sorry accusation upon a lady. And it doesn't go well with the stature of this debate and the kind of seniors who are in this debate. I'm very sorry to hear all this. Me being a woman, I would take strong exception, and I would really want to protest against this. And having said that, it's always a point that we need to make. There are grievances on either side. If you say a normal relationship between two countries has to be the one where both of them are making efforts to move towards each other, or to move towards betterment, or to move towards normalcy, then there are a lot of cases. I quoted you what India had done in 2019, 5th of August, revoking those special articles on Kashmir.
Again,
this is not something
nothing to do with the other. It is not a provision of the Pakistan.
People like
once again,
have been on record
it is not an article.
It
is not an article of the Constitution of Pakistan that was amended or that was removed. It was an article of the Constitution of India, right? And the government of India, the Parliament of India, not the government of India, the Parliament of India, through majority, is well within its right to amend or remove any article of any constitution, amend any article in the Constitution of India. That's a separate matter. The legality of it is being challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is apprised of that matter. What I'm asking you is, I'm asking you a simple question. The worst terror attack. Hear me out. Hear me out. Mona, hear me out. I'm willing to meet you halfway, right? The worst terror attack. Terrorism is terrorism, right? Knows no color, knows no boundaries. The worst attack that happened on Pakistani soil in recent times, when I mean recent in the last, let's say, decade, was the APS school attack, right? The Army Public School attack, in which children were killed. A large number of children were killed. Over 150 were killed. The mastermind behind that attack was a man named Mustafa Sayan Siddiqui. The person who put out a video claiming that he was the one who plotted in detail the entire APS school attack, Umar Mansoor, right? If the government of India, and I know there are sections within the Pakistani establishment and the non-establishment which have, accused at various points of time India and Indian agencies being behind that attack. Now, be that as it may, I'm not even getting into that. I'm not even, that's not the subject of my question. The subject of my question is, if India were to decide to award a special position on human rights to the wife of Mustafa Sayan Siddiqui or the wife of Umar Mansoor, would Pakistan sit quiet and accept? Would Pakistan say, they are separate individuals, they have nothing to do with their husbands, and they, should be given what they should be given? Would it be acceptable to you?
Yes. I've completely received your question. Look, I think I've answered this earlier. I think India can do whatever it likes to an Indian citizen and give them whatsoever portfolio they like and they deem appropriate. this is exactly what I've answered, and this is exactly the answer to all your questions and all these intriguing questions that you've pinpointed towards Mushal Malik. She's a Pakistani.
Okay.
To us, she has always advocated no violence in Kashmir, but she has advocated the UN resolutions
fair
on
enough.
Kashmir.
So let me ask Kavinder Gupta ji, मुना आलम का कहना ये है और पाकिस्तानी सरकार की कहना ये है कि इसमें भारत का क्या लेना देना है. मुशाल मलिक जो है वो पाकिस्तानी नागरिक है, वो पाकिस्तानी सिटीजन है. पाकिस्तान उनको क्या कोई रिवॉर्ड दे सकें या उनको कोई पोजीशन या पद दे उसमें किसको मतलब भारत को क्यों एतराज होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये भारत का अंदरूनी मामला नहीं है, ये पाकिस्तान का अंदरूनी मामला है. तो इसके ऊपर आप क्या प्रतिक्रिया देंगे. और दूसरी चीज, अभी तक तो भारत के साइड की तरफ से और भारत की तरफ से कोई रिएक्शन भी नहीं आया है या कोई प्रतिक्रिया भी नहीं आया है, या भी सरकार की तरफ से, एमईए की तरफ से, या इवन सोर्स बेस्ड कोई भी प्रतिक्रिया नहीं आया है कि इसके खिलाफ आप कुछ बोलेंगे, कुछ करेंगे. कुछ नहीं.
देखिए, दो चीजें हैं. नंबर एक तो ये विश्व मंच पर इसको बार बार हम कहते हैं और पाकिस्तान उस वक्त ये बात मानता भी है, लेकिन उसने कभी इस पर कार्रवाई ना की है. जो भी आतंकवादी जिनको चिन्हित कर दिया है, आइडेंटिफाई कर दिया है, जो डिक्लेयर हो चुके हैं, उनके खिलाफ भी कोई एक्शन नहीं लेता. जब बड़ा प्रेशर अमेरिका या दूसरे देशों का पड़ता है तो उस समय ये सिर्फ नाम के लिए वो एक रिपोर्ट दर्ज करके या इसको झूठ कह करके इस प्रकार की बातें करता है. लेकिन भारत अपने आप में सक्षम है. जब कोई भी गलत कार्रवाई करेगा, भारत ने किस वक्त उसका जवाब देना है हम अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं और किया भी है. दूसरी बात यह है कि पाकिस्तान जो कभी बार बात करने की वकालत करता है या कुछ कहता है, इससे रिश्ते बिगड़ते हैं, ना तो रिश्ते ठीक होने वाले हैं, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान पर कभी विश्वास किया ही नहीं जा सकता.
Okay, let me take this point, the first part of what Kavinder Saab said, and let me ask SP Ved Saab this, and I'll close the debate after that. Is, what he said was, whenever America says something, whenever America puts pressure, then yes, Pakistan does something, it alleviates the situation temporarily. और उसके बाद जो वो करता आ रहा है वो करते रहेंगे. Now my point is, even the recent example of the Tahawur Rana case, you have a diplomat in Pakistan, in the foreign ministry there, writing to his counterpart or writing to his colleague in the mission in Washington DC, asking, what is happening on this Tahawur Rana case? We can't afford to allow him to be extradited to India at any cost. Now again, the point I'm making is, if America gets involved, and if America, reads out the riot act to Pakistan, then maybe they might consider doing something. But otherwise, what leverage do we have?
See, Zaka, Pakistan, definitely the establishment there has been a what do you call America's, whatever America says, Pakistan generally listens. That it wields a lot of influence on Pakistan's establishment, because whatever happened in Afghanistan against Russians all happened at the behest of CIA of the America. But about Tahawur Rana.
Yeah.
What is chor ke man mein kala? What is the problem with Pakistan? Why is it so scared that if America deports him to India and he is brought to justice here, what is that secret which Pakistan is scared of that he will reveal? So that shows. I agree. That shows what Pakistan is scared of, because all the planning was Raki was done by him. The Mumbai attack was executed after that by 10 Pakistanis. We all know about that.
Okay, so Lalit Ambardar, final word. I've got 30 seconds to wrap up. How should India respond to this? Should India just ignore this and pretend like nothing has happened and not respond at all? Or should India actually make a big deal out of this and respond to it in measure?
No, I don't think Indian state should take it up so seriously and give a statement on that. What they can do is that we must realize that we have been morally called in Kashmiri terrorists. Till now, this Yasin Malik was treated till 2014. He was treated as if he was the head of a state. Similarly, other terrorists also. I expect Government of India at this moment to officially acknowledge what Kashmiri Hindus suffered was genocide and put up a tribunal and hold them, everybody, including those in this in the mainstream polity, and investigate their involvement so that you can have a counter narrative. Otherwise, what will you say? You send Yasin Malik on a bus ride to Pakistan. And he himself created a faux pas when he was passing through a particular place. This is where this is where we got the terrorist training in Pakistan. This is what we have been doing. I think we need to, even not one Kashmiri, I repeat, not even one Kashmiri terrorist has been ever charged for Kashmiri Hindu genocide. Recently, can you imagine? Recently, the ex-Inspector General of Police, Mission Sahai, he revealed recently a mother and daughter were raped and shot in vagina. And nonchalantly, this police officer says, where will we find them, those guys? And my Supreme Court says, where will we find the evidence? This is what I say. We have been morally calling Kashmiri justice because we thought, well, you want to keep the Kashmir because we want to keep this terrorist happy. But now I'm glad the actions are being taken, but it will not be complete till you set up a tribunal to investigate the crimes committed against Kashmiri Hindus.
All right,
this will
Jalil
set a
Abbas
precedent in Pakistan
Gupta,
as well as the growing
SP Ved,
disappearance of the rest of India.
and of course